Ik ben Biënnale en ik ben beeldend kunstenaar. En voor de Textiel Biënnale in Rijswijk heb ik een werk geproduceerd dat bestaat uit een verwarmingselement en een handdoek. En op de handdoek is een gerecht te zien, kipblokjes met pikante saus. Dat was nummer 39 van de menukaart in Happy Corner, het Chinese restaurant Happy Corner in Amsterdam. En in deze tentoonstelling vond ik het heel erg interessant om te werken met een bestaand voorwerp, namelijk dat verwarmingselement, en daar heel losjes een handdoek overheen te laten hangen, alsof die hier aan het drogen is. Over de handdoek zelf, over de foto zelf. Ik bezoek heel veel Chinese-Indische restaurants en dat doe ik om meerdere redenen. Persoonlijk omdat mijn ouders vroeger restaurants hebben gehad, of mijn familie. En ik op die manier bekend ben met alles wat in een Chinees-Indisch restaurant gebeurt. En tegelijkertijd gebeurt er maatschappelijk heel erg veel op dat gebied. Namelijk soms dat er grapjes over gemaakt worden, bijvoorbeeld door Gordon, de stigmatiserende uitspraak van Gordon, nummer 39 in het Rijswijk. Dat vond ik een uitspraak die heel erg pijnlijk was, of heel erg een bepaalde groep of de Chinese gemeenschap neerzetten als van, jullie zijn alleen maar restauranthouders, jullie werken alleen maar daar, of jullie mogen alleen maar met eten bezig zijn. En ik wilde letterlijk eigenlijk laten zien dat die uitspraak die richt aan die richt aan een zanger in een talentenshow, van wij zijn veel meer dan dat. En dat gerecht zelf het is niet een nummer, het zijn gerechten. Dus ik heb heel veel gerechten gefotografeerd. En dat doe ik ook omdat mijn ouders een restaurant hebben gehad, of verschillende familieleden een restaurant hebben gehad. En ik eigenlijk de gemeenschap goed wil doen of wil eren. Dus ik maak foto's van die gerechten. Ik verzamel menukaarten en ik verzamel allerlei andere artefacten die ik kan vinden in dat restaurant. En dat doe ik om mijn roots te begrijpen, maar ook om te laten zien hoe mooi en eigenlijk hoe bijzonder die restaurants eigenlijk zijn. En in dat werk probeer ik, in mijn werk probeer ik die spanning op te zoeken, waarin iets gewoon een handdoek is, maar ook eigenlijk veel meer dan dat. Het is veel meer een verhaal wat daarachter zit. Van generaties, van families die jarenlang in die restaurants gewerkt hebben, maar die nu de mogelijkheid hebben om iets anders te mogen zijn. Namelijk niet alleen maar chef of in het bedienend personeel, maar ook bijvoorbeeld kunstenaar of iets anders mogen kiezen. En dat probeer ik terug te brengen door dat soort werk juist te laten zien.
Hi, my name is Beardsley. I'm a visual artist from the United States. And the works I have exhibited in the Food for Thought Textile Biënnale is a series of cyanotypes titled Distorted Depth. To make these pieces, I used recycled plastic from food packaging and hardened embroidery. I sourced the food packaging from my own life, which let me begin to consider my own consumption and how I'm contributing to pollution. And I hope that looking at these works will inspire people to do the same. Cyanotype works as a contact print using sunlight, so I would play with different levels of transparency with the plastic in an attempt to see how they interact together. I also sometimes drew on the plastic, and I would use heat to work with it and mold it into the correct shapes. So I used a heat gun, and to make these holes I used wood burning tools. The goal for this one was to make something that resembled coral surface. Here's a picture of several of my cyanotype or my plastic animals ready to be printed. I also use hardened embroidery. To make freestanding hardened embroidery, I sew into a water-soluble substrate. Then when the stitching is complete, I add glue to stiffen it and secure the stitches, and at the end I dissolve the substrate in water to leave me the freestanding lines that print really nicely as cyanotypes. Here's a picture of the cyanotypes being exposed, and I also have a time-lapse video. So these vary depending on the time of day, how sunny it is. It's a very experimental process. Sometimes a gust of wind comes along and ruins a print, so I play around a lot with the composition and with the shadows, especially with the plastic pieces because they are so sculptural. Here are more images of the process. After the prints have been exposed, usually about 5 minutes, I wait until the fabric starts to turn white. I rinse the fabric in water and hang them up to dry. And that leaves me with my finished pieces and the works that I have in the show. I'm from Virginia Beach, which is a coastal city. So it's something that was really important to me to think about the animals. I also feel like people tend to have much more of a connection to animals than they do to more abstract commentaries on pollution. So part of the goal of this work is that people will be able to make this emotional connection and think more critically about the amount of plastic we are putting in the oceans and in other areas of the environment because of our consumption, because of the tendency to just do the easiest, cheapest thing, which for companies is plastic. And through doing this project, it made me realize that we really need to reform our laws to address this on a very large scale level, because it's actually nearly impossible to find to go completely plastic free when it comes to our food. So that's something that I hope that we're able to address.
Okay, hi, my name's Kate Jenkins and I'm a textile artist based in Brighton in the UK, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my installation, which is called The Art of Shelf Isolating and Social Distancing. So I guess you can notice that there's a pun in the title. So basically my idea came from my time during lockdown, during the first lockdown in the UK last year, which was March the 23rd. And basically I just come back from an exhibition I'd had in Hong Kong, and I spent a lot of time traveling around the world with my work, and I always look for different tins as inspiration, whether it's a tin of sardines or tin of tomatoes. So basically, when I came back to the UK for my exhibition, I noticed that a lot of people, well, most of the UK had been panic buying food, which there led to a lack of sort of food on the shelves throughout the UK, and I guess throughout most of the world. I mean, a lot of people were just panicking about what they could eat during the time they couldn't actually go out of their homes. So when I actually got home, there was two things. So I kind of looked into my my kitchen cupboard for inspiration during the pandemic, because obviously I couldn't go anywhere, and I sort of, a lot of my time is I'm kind of working in my studio with different ideas. So I looked sort of for just inspiration, and I could sort of come up with an idea that would just amuse my own, kind of keep my own sanity, and obviously amuse my friends and my clients. So I basically individually went through all these different tins in my cupboard, just looking for ideas of how I could make a joke, a visual pun, anything that was a kind of a related humorous thing that I could kind of associate with my work, my textile practice. So it started me on this kind of journey where I was kind of just coming up with new ideas, because obviously I have a very vivid imagination. So I just kept sort of looking at different aspects of what I could do. So the first piece I did was this piece, which was a tin of sweet corn. So I don't know if you can see here, it's basically a can of sweet corn, but I've kind of made him into a unicorn. So he's got a sort of a unicorn sort of feature there, and basically it was kind of interesting, because a lot of the time I do kind of sequined seafood and different things. So it was a new kind of adventure for me to kind of try different types of foods. Plus it was kind of, it was quite interesting to see how everything built up over the course of a few months, doing different kind of ideas. So there was another one which you'll see in the museum, which is Pineapple Hunk, which he's basically a pineapple in a tin of pineapple chunks. So he's kind of like a sort of a fitness kind of muscle man, and just kind of trying to kind of think of new kind of ideas was quite a challenge as well, because I spent sort of quite a lot of time in my studio. So this is all my yarn, which I use. These are kind of like my paints, which I kind of use every day. So it was quite kind of interesting to kind of just spend a lot of time just kind of working on each piece and making it as kind of humorous and as interesting as I could. And then as time went on, it's kind of built up into a really beautiful collection. So in the actual cabinet, there's 32 different pieces. And I must stress that I didn't eat all of them because I don't eat meat. So some of them you'll see like a tin of tongue, which that was, I mean, probably the hardest thing I had to kind of open, because obviously for me it was quite difficult. But to make it in a really beautiful way, like a sequined tongue with sequined lips, I mean, it was sort of, it kind of made it all better. But so, and I sort of, with all the seafood and all the different kind of content. So yes, I have eaten them all. So I have kind of lived for that artwork during lockdown as well. So I think the funniest one that I had, I'd kind of eaten, which I'd never eaten before, was a tin of squid, which, I mean, it looked absolutely revolting, to pulling it out of the tin. And then once it was kind of made, I think I made like a squid linguine out of it in the end. But it was really good. But so now each tin has a different story to tell as well. So the Carmen Miranda, which was the fruit cocktail. So I'd had this idea about creating sort of different kind of characters. So for me, I don't really kind of do sort of people or kind of portraits of things. So that was quite interesting to kind of try out different ideas. So there was Carmen Miranda. She's very famous because she always used to have fruit in her hair when she was in her films. And then I kind of had this idea with Donald Trump, because he was impeached during lockdown. And I just thought it would be quite funny I mean, obviously I'm not a Trump fan, but I just thought it would be quite funny to kind of have him in a tin of peaches. So there was sort of a visual joke with that as well. So yeah, as I say, I mean, each piece has a funny story to tell. I mean, even like the kind of the tin of hamburgers, which again, I mean, I didn't even think you could buy things like that. So obviously when I was going into like supermarkets and finding other things, so I'd kind of gone through all the tins in my actual cupboard at home. And then I was sort of looking for new ideas. So, I mean, luckily I had like a few supermarkets nearby, which were quite well stocked during the lockdown. So I'd go in and kind of try and find other things to kind of create. I'm really looking forward to coming to visit to see all the other textile artists alongside mine. So no, it's a big deal for me to see it in a museum, especially during such a difficult time last year. So yeah, that's kind of this is the background behind it. So I hope you all enjoy it, and yeah, I hope it makes everybody laugh and smile.